Hi, it's Deborah Hamilton, Hamilton Law and Mediation, the Why Do Pets Matter podcast, which I've heard such great things from people who are listening to it. I spoke to an attorney last night in California who's assigning it to all her clients to listen to. So I was really thrilled. And of course, this MAAP community, which I'm hopeful will expand in leaps and bounds. My prior students all are saying they're going to be here. I'm waiting patiently. However, I'm so glad that my typical students are here, my typical friends and my community, because it makes such a big difference for everybody to be here. So without further ado, let me check in with everybody. Hey, Kieran, I'm going to start with you because I used your name in vain today on a post on LinkedIn. Did you see it?
You're referring to calling me typical?
I don't think I called you typical.
Just now, you said your typical students are here.
My wonderful typical students, the ones who make me come back every Wednesday. So I'm so thrilled all of you are here. So you're my special students. So there you go. But today, I'll have to tell you, ladies, there was a post about, it was only adopt. And only from rescues that are high kill shelters. And of course, my mantra is people need to get the dog that's going to work for them. So I suggested that the person who posted this also read when a child asks for a dog, One-Eyed Leo has the conversation. I did it right, Kieran, I swear to God, because I went back and looked at the picture. So I know I got the name right on that post. But it was, so good to be able to have someone go somewhere where responsible dog ownership is not limited to what kind of dog you get or where you get it. It's about making sure you get the dog that's going to fit your family. It's an older dog. It's a younger dog. It's a big dog. It's a small dog. It's a purebred. It's a mixed breed. Doesn't matter. No shame, no blame. Get the dog that's right for you, because then they're not going to end up in a rescue or a shelter because you have gotten the dog that works the best for you. Don't let anybody shame you into getting a dog. I always feel terrible when I'm walking down the street and some beautiful golden retriever. And that's the funny thing. The picture this guy posted was this beautiful golden retriever. And the devil in me wanted to say, this doesn't look like a rescue dog to me, but I did not do it. But, they always say, oh, I got it from rescue. And I said, great, because every single breed has a purebred rescue. So if you want to get a golden retriever, and some of them are really beautiful, you can get it from the Golden Retriever Club of America's rescue group. You can get it from the Irish Setter Club of America's rescue group. So don't think that you have to settle for a dog that isn't really what you want. If you want an Irish Setter, check in with rescue, see if they have it. If you want a Catan, you can go to Catan Club of America. I don't know the whole name and I apologize. Susan, what's the full name?
I honestly don't know it either. I looked into that many, many years ago, trying to get one through a rescue, and I couldn't. So,
yeah, it is sometimes. I mean, if there are none available, then there are none available. But what you want to really be careful about, if you go to a rescue for a breed, make sure that they're affiliated with the national club. Because if they're affiliated with the national club, then they've evaluated this dog for all its, pimples and warts, where it will be good, where it won't. They'll be totally honest with you, because of course the one drawback of adopting a rescue older dog is the history may be sketchy, the history may not be present, the history may be false. So if you are able to get a dog that's been evaluated by an animal behaviorist or by someone who is really aware and fully engaged with the breed, then you're going to get a dog whose, warts and pimples, as I said, are going to be exposed. So Kieran, how are things going? Good?
All good. All very good.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Oh, Madagascar, Catan de Tuileries Club. Yes, it is. The Catan de Tuileries. That's exactly how you say it. Yep. Thank you. I love Colin. Kieran, he's the best. So Sally, how are the girls?
The girls are just fabulous. They knew I was out photographing other dogs and cats today, but they forgave me for doing that.
Well, I'm sure you gave Roxy more food, because that would be the best way. Athena, not so much, but Roxy would say, just give me another morsel of food.
Yeah, I am starving, both of them. Yeah, they're just wasting away. However, the dogs I photographed today, were all at least 30 pounds heavier than my biggest dog.
Were they mastiffs? Were they
No, they were Irish setters.
what?
Yeah,
Oh,
90
were they
pounds.
boys? Were they boys?
90, yep, 90 pounds.
Were they heavy or were they just really muscled? They might be chunky tunas.
Yeah, they were a little plus size.
Yes, they were a little well fed, sort of like Roxy when she arrived at your house and now she is wearing her bikini as opposed to before.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's hard, especially if they're altered or spayed, to keep weight off dogs. If they're intact, it's a lot easier to keep weight off dogs. And Susan, have you had a chance to speak with Kathy? Is Maggie doing a little bit better?
You know, I did email Kathy because I was really concerned whether or not we could keep Maggie because her barking is just horrific. And I'm not really sure if it's, and my husband is hard of hearing. And whenever
And he can hear her.
Yeah, he can hear her for sure. And I just was worried that my son was having more gastric issues because of the barking.
Yeah.
And she said she would do a Zoom meeting with me about rehoming her if that was what I really wanted to do. And it's not.
I know. Did she talk about the can of pennies?
Not yet, no.
So what we sometimes do when dogs have habits that we want to turn them away from. So if they're barking, it might be a worse sound for your husband and your son, but you put some coins in a can and you screw the top on, and you shake it when they bark so that it stops them, startles them, and then you give her a treat. Although I don't think she's food motivated, but anyway.
Oh no, she's terribly food motivated.
Oh, good. So then you give her a treat when she stops barking. So you shake the can, she stops barking. Good girl. Instead of telling her to quiet, 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 which is like a mantra, and it becomes a white noise to them. Distracting her with it's not easy to do when you're on the phone with clients or whatever you're doing. I know it's not easy to do, but if you can set up where somebody rings, where somebody, whatever it is she's doing that's barking, that is not like alerting you that someone's at the door, because that's what you want her to do.
Right.
But if you're just standing in the middle of the room barking, shaking the can and telling her, good dog when she stops.
And then a treat. Right. Well, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, but that's what we do.
Yeah, I'm going to try it. I mean, we did try some of the suggestions Kathy gave us, and the problem for me is my husband's
consistency,
cognitive decline, and
it's hard when everybody isn't on the same page, and that's not a criticism at all. It's one of the hardest things, as Kieran will agree, to have everybody on the same page, right, Kieran? I mean, to have everybody doing the right thing and not getting, and if he has cognitive issues, for sure, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's very new for him. It started a few months after we got Maggie, but yeah, the penny trick is probably something I've done before with my other dogs, and I need to get back.
And then everybody can have their own can. You can have a red can and a blue can and an orange can, and then everybody can shake their own can.
Make it fun, right?
Make it fun and make it so that she really, I don't think she'll start to bark so that she gets a treat, because you're treating her after she stops barking. It's sort of like clicker training. I am never good at click because I can't walk and chew gum. So I can't click and treat. I can click and then I don't know what I have to do. I have to whistle or something instead of click, because I can't feed and click at the same time. It's a two-handed thing and I can't do it. But if you can do it, that would be fabulous. That would be fabulous.
I'll just do the penny trick.
Yeah, it really does work really well. So before I check in again, I'm going to share with you what I'm doing. Well, first of all, I'm going to share with you that, of course, most of you saw that Junie was the star this weekend, along with his daughter Louise of Thelma and Louise fame. She got a 5-point major on the last day of the dog show. Junie got 2 5-point majors back to back. So that was pretty thrilling. So now he's champion Junie as opposed to just regular old Junie Master Hunter. So we're really thrilled. And that took a lot of time. It took a village. I'm not yet in my home. He's out on the road, and hopefully he'll be back in December. But it was interesting. And I think I mentioned this before, but for those of you who haven't listened to the podcast in the last few weeks, I was at a dog show with Louise back at the beginning of October. And when the handler, who I love and who got the 5-point major on her, put her back in her crate, I said, "Where's her tag?" I said, "I can't tell who's who." She goes, "I can't believe you can't tell your dog over this other dog." And I said, "Well, it's not really a matter of me telling which dog is which, but if I put Colin in front of 2 crates with red dogs, he wouldn't know who was who. And he might be the person who's the EMS who comes on the road to take your dogs. And he's not going to know who's who. So it really is important, if you're traveling with your dogs, to put their names on the crate and your telephone number as well as an alternate telephone number, because God forbid you have an accident, you're not going to be the one answering the phone. You're going to need Sally to answer the phone or Karen to answer the phone, because they're going to be the people who are going to be able to take the dogs. So what I suggest, I have beautiful little name tags that I put on my crates, but you can go get a shower hook. And I mean the shower hooks, and just make a little card and laminate it and put 2 holes in it for the shower hooks, and then hook it onto your dog's crate in the car. And then you can always make 2 or 3 cards, because, today Sally's the person who would come to get the dogs if in fact I get injured. Tomorrow it may be Susan. So I have that card too, or you could put both numbers on the card, but just make sure you have some identifying characteristics. This is Junie. His microchip number is this. He belongs to me. This is my number. If something happens to me, these are the numbers to call for the people to get the dog. It's really, really important. And then I know back on Labor Day, I told you that a dear member of the Irish Setter Club of America National Club passed away. And her sister is really interesting. You don't really, and I talk about this all the time, about perspectives and perception in my conflict work. But in this kind of work, when people are caring for your pet, make sure they really understand what you mean, because their perspective or perception might be different than yours. I had a case today where that wonderful attorney in California who has everybody listening to my podcast said she's sort of trying to defend a cat caregiver who let a cat starve to death. Now, it was only 5 years old, but it stopped eating. And the owner hadn't addressed the needs of the pet, hadn't left a directive for that. So she didn't realize that the cat had stopped eating. The food was there, and she said, well, maybe he doesn't want to eat. So 30 days went by. Now, one can argue, if the cat doesn't eat in 30 days, if the cat doesn't eat in 4 days, you should really bring it to the vet. Well, that wasn't a directive, right? It wasn't something that the person left for the caregiver to follow in their own house. So she thought, well, maybe there's food somewhere else. So the cat expired from, starvation and dehydration in 30 days, because that's a long time. Maybe she was pining for her owner, and that's why she stopped eating. You really need to make sure, if you leave your pets with a caregiver, that they know how this animal acts when you leave, what's normal for this pet. Okay, so Athena eats and throws up almost every night. That's just her thing. And then Roxy looks forward to it because she likes to help Sally clean up. These are things you need to know, because A, Roxy shouldn't clean up, and B, Athena shouldn't throw up. But then you have to give Athena a few small meals, because she eats so fast, worried that Roxy's going to eat her food, that in fact she eats too fast. So these are things you have to share with your caregiver, because it could be that by the time Sally got home, if she left Athena and Roxy together, if Athena throws up every meal and Roxy eats it, who would know? And Roxy will become a blimp, and Athena will, like this cat, expire from failure to eat for 30 days because she eats and then she throws up. So you really need to tell people, remember, address the needs of your pet. You need to tell them about those idiosyncrasies. It is the most important piece of animal care. It It's a little troubling to me that in 30 days that the caregiver didn't take the cat to the vet, but maybe there was a note that says, under no circumstances should this cat go to the vet. I don't know. And you regret that after the fact, right? If you've had a caregiver who took the dog or cat to the vet at the drop of a hat, you might leave a note that says, under no circumstances does this dog or cat ever need to go to the vet. You might not ever want to do that because there may be a circumstance where that dog or cat has to go to the vet. So to get back to the death of my dear friend Jan Zeke at the end of the summer on Memorial Day weekend, her sister-in-law and brother asked me to write an article because what's really great about a purebred dog club, if you are a member of one, is that they come to the aid of their countrymen. They will come in and help place those dogs and find those dogs homes. And for the family, that can sometimes be overwhelming. This family didn't happen to ever meet any of Jan's Irish setter friends. Never. So here are these strangers coming in to tell them what to do with these dogs. And unfortunately, Jan didn't leave a MAAP plan. She didn't leave any plan, not a word on what to do with these dogs if something happened to her. So the brother and sister-in-law wanted me to share with the Irish Setter Club of America that when they do this again, which they likely will because people don't make plans except the wonderful people who listen to the MAAP community call, that they recognize the family is grieving for the lost loved one. And yes, they're really glad there's somebody there to help tend to the dogs and maybe place the dogs, but have a little empathy and compassion and slow down because they felt they were incredibly rushed and pressured into letting the dogs go because this is what these people said Jan would have wanted, and maybe she would. But again, what's the problem? She didn't tell them that. She didn't leave a note for her brother saying, in the case of emergency, call this person. She will disperse my dogs. Not a word. So they felt incredibly overwhelmed and incredibly hurt that it seemed more important to take care of Jan's dogs than to grieve for Jan or to help them grieve for Jan. Now, this is, again, as I said, perspective and perception. This is how they saw it. They were appreciative people came in to take care of the dogs. The communication wasn't what they had hoped for. And I'm sure that the people who took the dogs felt they communicated incredibly well and a ton of times. And, this is where defensiveness and reactivity will come in because they'll say, what did they want us to do? Call them every day? I mean, we were just, and this is what happens, this disagreement. So if you address the needs of your pet and you make a plan and you have the people in place to help place your pets, it is the single most important piece. I hate to say this because you do need a will. You absolutely need a will. But if you don't have a will, then you need to give the person who's going to be given the right to disperse your goods an idea of how to disperse your pets. And they may or may not follow it. Now, if they have it written down and it's dated, and maybe if they're really good, they notarized it, which would be awesome, then that plan would probably stand up in court, that plan for who got what dog would stand up. If they just write it on a piece of paper and stick it to the refrigerator, it's a guide. And I'm sure that Bill and Marianne would have loved to have had a note on the fridge saying, in case of emergency, Mary gets this dog and Susie gets this dog and, Joan gets this dog. They would have been thrilled because then they would have just followed that path. So I want to check in with Kieran because I was so glad to be able to share the book with someone else who was totally different. I should actually look it up because he commented that he was so glad he heard about your book. So I will tell you who he is. Oh, it just went off. I hate when that happens. Let me do this again. Because he didn't know about your book. So I was thrilled. Oh, Paul Mahovich. And Paul Mahovich is a marine industry professional and rescue dog advocate. And he said, my cure to avoid having 3 straight Mondays, want a better option? Saving a rescue dog will make any day of the week feel like a Friday. And who would not like that feeling? Check out heartbarks.com, join our current Lucky Dog Animal Rescue campaign. You will be directly responsible for saving a pup at a kill shelter and placing them into their foster system. Feel that Friday feeling. So I suggested, that's great. Let's open it up to adoptions from breed-supported rescues as well. And then I said the best way to see how to find a pet that fits their family is to read Kieran Walsh's book, When Your Child Asks for a Dog, One-Eyed Leo, Guides of the Conversation. I got it right.
Very good.
I got it right. So I think that that's really one of the best things that I can do for the book, is just whenever I can, put it somewhere for responsible dog ownership and spread the word. It is, without a doubt, every breeder should hand it out to their puppy owners.
Yeah. Just a couple of things there, Debbie. I'll follow that up with Paul in the morning. And the book is part of, I can't announce the details yet, but it's part of quite a major research project.
Fabulous.
Now, what we are trying to do, there's two things about it. So it's one of America's leading pet dog researchers is on the case. And what we need to do is basically get a few shelters involved where the book is given out to at least 50% of the people who get a dog from the shelter. So we're quite happy to give out about 1,000 copies, just so that we would then have a control group of people who don't get the book and see what happens. Where was I going with that?
And will they have a poll after they read the book, or after they've had the dog for 6 months or a year, on how the book impacted their care of the pet or their choice of pet?
Well, we have the survey comes in two parts. So the first one is, and even within the first part, there's two parts of it. So very simply, it's open to anybody to look, and it asks, do you have a dog at the moment, or do you intend to get a dog in the next 6 months? And it sort of filters things out. So we go through we ask simple questions which are covered in the book.
Right.
Like,
yeah, because the book itself asks questions and has you answer. Right.
Yeah. So that's what's coming up. And as I say, we can make it freely available to rescue shelters for the next 6 months. Oh yes, I remember what I was going to say, and this is very important. The researcher basically looked at this question for quite a few weeks. And the point of the book is the conversation. And the researcher was quite happy to say that has never been researched. The impact of intervening at the moment the child asks.
Right.
Right. So,
and intervening with information that outlines in a gentle and kind way what getting a dog means.
I think I'd put it in a way that you'll clearly understand, and I would say that Paul will understand. Both of you having a legal background, is it's sort of built on one structure after the next to sort of counteract any question that might be asked. Well and truly. In other words, it's the first platform, the next platform. So it's almost regardless of what the eventualities are, we can take it in a certain path. And I think the trick to the book is it keeps coming up, the conversation. And it's like this, if the parent says yes, there's one set of problems. If the parent says no, there's probably another bigger set of problems. And the beauty of the book is it's like that square in the Monopoly game, or not that square in the Monopoly game, it's that card, that magic card in the pack in the Monopoly games, which says, get out of jail free.
Yeah.
And the parent, this is sort of the only publication in the world which does two things. One is the parent doesn't have to answer the question. Where up to this point, there was pressure to come up with something. And the second thing it does is it gets the child to answer the question for themselves over a certain amount of time. It takes the emotions out of it, but it then actually in its place puts quite a large time frame. So instead of, so it if you like, it removes the explosive components
A
from
reactive
within a few seconds.
defensive answer, and it gives the child the opportunity to explore on their own.
Sorry, what was the first two words you used?
The reactive defensive answer of the parent.
That's
And,
beautiful.
the reactive and defensive answer of the parent, absolutely not. No way, right? It takes that away, and it gives the child the opportunity to read the book and gain insight into the answer to that question from One-Eyed Leo.
Do you see that, Sally? We're in the right place for for a lesson or two.
There you go.
Special students, yes.
Well, I'm glad I contributed again, because I think One-Eyed Leo is the best thing that's ever come. But I've said that way before the very educated educator found it. But I know that book will create the opportunity for conversation after we get out of our amygdala, no way, and back into our prefrontal cortex, where we will say, okay, so let's talk about this. Let's see what this is going to be about. And I love the fact that the book not only handles information for children to gain, but also has information, correct, Kieran, for adults.
Well, it's like it's for the whole family and the dog, and it's
and hopefully, do you think they should read it before they get a dog or after they get a dog?
Well, definitely before, without a shadow of a doubt. If they have a dog, no harm at all.
No.
And not only that, but you know yourself that if you have a dog, this gives you priceless information on how to react in any situation. So there's the very simple things like, what do I do if the dog bites my child? Simple safety tips on even the bacteria in the dog bowl. How do we deal with the day when the dog might pass away? And then this wonderful little chapter on all the D's.
Yep.
That how could, and this is, you talk about this, Debbie, every Wednesday night, but most humans take every day for granted, and we could never imagine something might happen in the future. So there's that beautiful chapter at the end of it, which is, how would your dog's legal status change if yours changes? And most people probably listening to your podcast every week is, how could the dog's legal status change? Isn't it a dog? And it's only when they go through your chapter, then the pennies fall into place. And the beauty of the book is, well, not only do the pennies fall into place, the solution is in the back of the book.
Yeah.
So for the for what it is, it is, and I'm beginning to realize the value of it. And I do have an announcement to make next week, not tonight.
Oh, good. Well, we will be here next week. Oh, fabulous.
You will be here next week. But
I will be here next week. Yep, I'll be here. Oh, will I be? Yeah, I will, because I'll be in New York, but I'll be here next week.
The next session, I will explain it to you when you go off air.
Perfect.
Because there are one or two details. Oh, there is a little bit of good news, actually. I can divulge tonight, which is a lot of people who have read the book said, well, this should be in every school and so on. We have the first school that it's going to be in.
Fabulous. Oh, wonderful.
So that is, and the interesting thing with this school is they have their own little book club, and the book club are going to start reading it next week. So I'll explain the details. Way
to get feedback and testimonials early. So that's, oh my God. How old are the kids in the school?
This is beautiful. It's from 6 to 18.
So it's the whole gamut. That's great.
It's the whole gamut, and I have also been invited to give a lecture on storytelling. I'll have to read up what does it take to be a storyteller.
Well, just, as you've shared with us so many times, this just was a dream of mine that I knew I had to put down on paper.
Oh no, I think everybody else did that. I did. It fell into place. It's the most weird journey ever. It fell into place,
And that's what usually makes a really good story, if it falls into place. Sally, let me know what you think, because I think that, what Kieran said is so important to all of us who have pets. And if we can share it with others, that would be great as well.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think the Children's Book Club and getting it into shelters where people are going to look for pets, the fact that they know it ahead of time. I know with our shelter, one thing they say is if you want a purebred dog, come back in March, because at Christmas they get the puppies, but by March they have those sharp little pointy teeth, and they start biting. So come back in March. So I think any hints you can give someone to take good care of a pet and talk about the lifespan of the pet, because it's not all smooth pennies in a stack as we go through the dog's life.
Absolutely. And Susan, so when you get your book, you'll have to see if they have a chapter on barking.
Yeah. Barking and biting. Yeah. I mean, she could be the sweetest dog in the world. She jumps up on my lap every night. And yet at the same time, she's very reactive and fearful.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from.
Probably, I know that I'm working with clients now who had someone work with their dog who was really charging. It was a dachshund. It was charging. It was biting. It was being just naughty. And it was 7 months old. But it was 7 months old during the lockdown when it didn't get any socialization. And no matter what, being able to take a dog outside and experience all of that world was curtailed. And maybe our lives are like that anyway and curtailed. However, during COVID, it was definitely curtailed, and dogs really suffered. A number of dogs developed issues that definitely they might not have had they had that typical upbringing. And again, as Sally said, not only do the dogs go through life changes and the way they address a pet, the people go through life changes. And so the way I trained a dog when I was in my 20s and 30s is totally different from the way I train a dog now, because at that time, letting them jump on me and being crazy was fabulous. And now if they jump on me, I have a 50-50 chance of going flat on my hiney.
Oh, no.
So I really can't let that happen.
Right.
And if you watch the video with Junie, he was 2 or 3 feet away from me when he was going into orbit, because had I let him jump up on me and my dress and my lovely hat would have been on the ground. So, you really need to recognize your limitations and their limitations, giving the experience.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even get a leash on her to take her out and walk in the neighborhood. Anyway.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
kind of weird.
That's it. That is weird. So Kathy's going to have to help you work with that, because and as we said, you might need to get a trainer now that things are opening up that are in the area in Virginia, so that you can have somebody come in and do hands-on.
Yeah, I might have to do that.
Because
you're right.
Clearly there's more to this than you can do yourself. And I would suggest that either she needs to move on, and that's fine too, or see if there's someone who can help you with her. I do caution you that if somebody's doing something that you don't think is right to your dog, stop them, because it probably isn't. I know from experience when I was doing obedience with my dogs, there was a woman who would throw empty, big liter soda bottles at dogs so they wouldn't break on their down. And I sat there and I said, that just doesn't seem right to me. So I picked up my dog and her leash and I walked out the door. Because it wasn't right. So if the person comes and they don't have the right temperament for you, make sure that you don't feel pressured to keep them. It's always
Right.
good to feel like you're a team. That's really important. And I know that that's part of what Kieran has in the book, that it's a team effort. It's a family team effort. If you get a trainer, it's a family trainer team effort, because it really is important. So we're coming to the end, and I want to ask everybody to give a last hurrah here so that we can wrap up. So Kieran, what's your last hurrah?
I just going to talk directly to Susan, and what you're saying there is, I think the golden rule when you're working with all animals is ABG, always be gentle. And you can talk about techniques and this and that, but animals will pick it up immediately.
No,
And
I agree.
the minute they feel they can be relaxed with you, results will happen almost immediately.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed is that when she's with me alone, she's a lot calmer than when she's in certain rooms where my husband is and I'm trying to talk to him. Maybe I've got a lot of stress or anxiety in my voice, and that seems to trigger her.
And it does. They pick up on our emotions completely.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a big part of it, because my husband can't hear, and so I have to repeat things like maybe 4 times before he hears what I'm saying. By then, the dog is, pandemonium.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really stressful. So
For everyone, including Maggie. So Sally, I'm going to let you have the last word.
I agree with everything that's just said. And I was just going to say, when you're training, the repetition and the calmness and going through it again and again and again in a calm way will pay off.
yeah, no, I agree. It's very important. And I love the dog. I don't want to give her up. She's really a beautiful, wonderful dog, but we do have to manage the behavior.
We're here for you, to cheer you on, to find that behaviorist who's going to help you. So until next time, this is Deborah Hamilton, Hamilton Law and Mediation, the Why Do Pets Matter podcast, and of course, this wonderful MAAP community call. Don't hesitate to come next week. Don't hesitate to write me at info@Hamilton Law Mediation, or go to the website, Hamilton Law Mediation, and send me a note. Until next time, kiss your dogs for me. Night, everyone.
Night, Deborah.
Bye. Thank you.